I want to do a talk on systems, specifically saving our planet's systems. What are systems and how can we save them together? This is what we'd call an agricultural system. It's a mono-agricultural system built on agrochemicals. This is another system, our water system. And most people don't realize that only 0.007% to 0.035% of our water is available for life on our planet. Even though there's 25% of our planet is fresh water, very little is actually accessible to us. And this system is threatened and now is contaminated with all sorts of agrochemicals that are ultimately responsible for harming the insects on our planet that are vital for agriculture. The systems out there, there's our education system, and then there is our political system. All these systems create a framework for our modern lifestyle. The problem is all these systems right now are based on a centralized framework that is powered by petroleum. And petroleum, as you know, is coming to an end. So the question is how do we adapt and change from a centralized system driven by closed markets, by a few, to an open one, decentralized, that is driven renewably and sustainably? How do we bring that about? Well, all the technology we need exists. There's lots of technologies. There's permaculture, there's aquaponics, there's hydroponics, there's organic ponds and renewable energy solutions. There is sustainable housing solutions. All these things can provide and replace the current system. Power is a big one. The good news is we got something called the sun, which lies outside our system, which means the power from the sun can be free and available to us all. So our power system is one of the first things that we need to replace, because we need to convert our agrochemical system that is unsustainable to a solar system that's sustainable. Centralized education system is another massive problem. Why? Because ultimately it's unsustainable. Consider the amount and the cost that it costs for America to maintain its education complex. Imagine reproducing that complex multiple times to cover Africa, India, China, in other parts of Asia. And you can realize that the amount of cost of training teachers, of supplying books, of building schools and everything else is simply not sustainable. We can't afford to do it. So we need a decentralized system. A decentralized system is a system in order that anyone can get a basic education for free on any smart device. Now, this is an idea of mine from 2001 called EDUIT, Education Using Information Technology. EDUIT's vision is a decentralized, bottom-up system for autonomously driving learning to everyone who has a smart device. That's sustainable. What it means is I don't need a teacher or a school to get a basic education. AI will provide it for me autonomously through an inexpensive smartphone. Our political and corporate system is another massive problem. They're both centralized, and our corporate system is what fuels our political system, and what happens is they hijack governments. They implement policies that are to the benefit of the few that are causing complex problems for the greater stakeholder, the many. And ultimately, if we change the corporation from a top-down centralized one to a bottom-up decentralized one, then ultimately we can impact the political system, which is right now a top-down centralized system to a bottom-up decentralized system. How do we change this systems in order to save it? Because the current system is basically crashing our planet. And all you need to do is watch the news. All you need to do is watch documentaries like Chasing Ice and talking about climate change and everything else. All these crises can be traced to our business system. Our business system. And the fundamental component of our business system is something called the startup. So when you realize that everything ties to this one little thing, the top-down, centralized business model we call the startup, and the moment you realize that if we transform this centralized, top-down, selfish business model into an open, selfless, decentralized one from the bottom up, something I simply call found-ups, a model that is not focused on making individual billions, but focused on saving our planet, then we can change every system facing our planet and maybe even save it. I'll be honest with you, it may be too late. But the longer we allow the current centralized top-down system to exist, the less likelihood we're going to come out of this in a positive way. And everything is coming to bear on this system. So I spent the last 4 years developing something called the Found-Up. Found-Ups are ideas for helping to save our planet's systems. Not just our systems, but the living systems, the earth, the soil, the biosphere. It's about saving species. And Found-Up starts with you and me becoming the change we want to see in the world. And ultimately, what Found-Ups does too is it provides a funding vehicle for these systems to happen. Now, what I've done is I've created an exponential growth funding vehicle. Now, this exponential growth funding vehicle is this: that we commit to reinvesting 80% of any capital gains and net profits into launching more Found-Ups. That's an exponential growth function. Because the moment we launch our first Found-Up, and let's say it has $1 million of net profit, we've got $800,000 being distributed by the lesser stakeholders, not by Michael Trout, not by the board of trustees, not by a few who decide where that money goes, but to every lesser stakeholder. Lesser stakeholders are the ones that help make that company successful. It's shared equally amongst them, and it deposits into their Play Found-Ups account. And they're allowed to spend that money on any Found-Up they want to. It's that simple. Now, 99% of Found-Ups are going to become nothing more than organic salad gardens or permaculture gardens or natural gardens that will feed and provide food security for individuals. Some of these are going to grow up and provide food security for their neighborhood. Some of them are even going to grow up even bigger and become maybe like Whole Foods. Imagine if Whole Foods turned around and reinvested 80% of its net profits and its capital gains in launching more Whole Food-like businesses that did the same. Imagine if Google and all the other billionaires that have amassed a staggering $6.7 trillion. Imagine if that $6.7 trillion that just sitting and basically making more money for them was put into use into saving our planet. Imagine the kind of world we would have. Well, that's FoundUps for you. And if you'd like to support this vision, then I invite you to become part of the vision by simply becoming a patron on foundups.com. Your patronage helps us to develop our app. It helps us to launch more FoundUps. I'm writing a manual. I'm doing all this different stuff. No one's paying me to do that. Individuals that believe in my vision are helping to support my efforts with contributions for as little as $1. So join me in helping to save our planet's systems together.